this is hole 1 at TPC Scottsdale Stadium course. I did not warm up at all before this round. I stepped right out of the car and straight onto the tee box, which is why I pulled this drive straight into a fairway bunker. Now, once we're in the fairway bunker, I'm definitely not warmed up for this shot either, but the goal was just to get it out and on some grass, which is what happened. So now I have an actual approach shot that I can work with, and I'm just hoping that my swing cooperates a little bit and feels a little bit more warmed up for this shot. Overall, I'm pretty happy I'm on the green and putting for par. Now, this was literally the day before overseeding in September at TPC Scottsdale. The greens were rolling a little bit slower, and I wasn't prepared for the speed of the greens. So I ended up with a bogey on the first hole, unfortunately. Now we are on to hole 2. Hole 2 is also a par 4, pretty straightforward hole. I pulled my drive again, but I was set up nicely to approach the green. I am also noticing though that this drive did not go very far at all. The ball definitely stopped and did not roll out, which gave me quite a long shot into the green. So I had about 200 yards into the pin, and so I aimed towards that tree on the right side of the green just to avoid any of the other rough on the left side, now that I knew how thick this grass was. I chose a hybrid so that way I could get good contact out of the grass and get it up out of that rough. I had an easy pitch shot into the green, which made for an up-down par save. Now we're on to hole 3. Hole 3 is a par 5 and the 4th hardest hole on the course.
Almost killed that bird that flew by. Let's see if it sticks and stays. It's really rolling off. Whew. I have my 60 degree because I need to get it over this hill. Plan is to have it land softly just on the edge of the fringe, kind of where the leaf is at, if you can see it, and then let it roll out to the pin. The key here is tempo and also keeping my weight on my front foot. Let it land softly. See if it sits. I pulled it slightly and didn't allow it to just use the loft of the club, so I kind of helped it along, which didn't help me. It was also a little more downhill than I thought, I guess. Oh, and that was the low side. Wow, that was rough. Tough hole.
Hole 4 has a smaller green with 3 bunkers on either side of the green, but once you're on the green, it's pretty easy to read. Thankfully, it's a par 3, and I felt a little bit more confident with my irons than I did my driver and woods. I'm happy with that one, and now we're putting for birdie. And I was off on the line for this putt and pretty frustrated with myself for missing that line, but I walked away with a par, and we're happy with pars. So now we're on to hole 5. Hole 5 is like the quintessential desert hole. There's a lot of trouble on either side of the fairway, so you don't want to slice your ball. I played a nice draw and ended up in the fairway, which I was happy with a nice approach shot into the green that doesn't allow for that slice of desert to come into play. What is in play, however, is this greenside bunker, which I went right into. The bunker is massive, and I still had quite a ways to get to the green, so I made sure to use an iron that would allow me to get out of the bunker, and it worked really well. So I was able to save a par here, even though I didn't capture that last putt on camera. And we're on to hole 6. So as you can tell, hole 6 has a lot of fairway bunkers, and you don't want to play a draw here because you'll end up at the bunkers. But thankfully, my shot was short of the bunkers, so it worked out for me. Once again, I'm playing that little hook today, but it worked for me on this hole. We're up on the green. I'm putting for birdie. This green is hard to read. It's obviously on a downslope, and I give it my best effort, but my putting was not dialed in today, and I two-putted this one, ending up with a par. Not too bad.
Hole number 7, par 3, 168 yards. See if I can get this close to the pin again. Hopefully get the first birdie of the day.
This is the longest par 3 on the course, and it kind of depends on where the pin placement's
that's gotta sit.
On how difficult the hole will be.
Bummer.
If the pin placement's in the front, it makes it pretty tricky. But today, fortunately, the pin placement was towards the back. So, not too bad.
Okay, let's see if I can not pull it this time. No hooks. That's a little better.
Hole 8 is a longer par 4, but it's honestly pretty open compared to the rest of the course. There is a lot of fairway to work with and not a ton of fairway bunkers to worry about. I'm really happy with the drive on that one, and then my approach shot wasn't too bad either, so we're on the green, we're putting in regulation, which is always nice. Let's see if we can pull off a par here. The green definitely slopes, and I didn't quite read that one correctly, but I was able to save that par still. Now on to the last hole of the front 9, hole 9 here. Again, pretty open fairway on this one. There are some fairway bunkers that come into play, so I do need to be on the left side of the fairway, but that has not been a problem for me all day. And in fact, I pulled it way too far left.
All right, so I've got a tricky lie here. The ball took the cart path and then it landed on the desert side of the cart path. So unfortunately, I can't drop on the grass. I have to drop on the desert side because the desert is in play here. So let me flip this around and show you here. So I get relief from the cart path here because technically the cart path interferes with my swing. So here's how I would take the free drop. I'd take my stance. I'm going to use my older hybrid because this is going to scratch up the club. And then my stance is safe here. I'm going to lay down my club, mark a club length to where that ball can be dropped in that safe zone where I'll hit it without hitting the cart path. Of course, I'm going to drop no closer to the pin. I can pick up the club now and I can drop it from knee height. See if it stays. Doesn't stay, so I can drop it 2 more times, and now I can place it because it wants to roll. Oh gosh, I'm gonna place it more towards here. There we go. So that's how I take that drop for relief from a cart path into the desert. So this is funny because this is another example of a free relief shot because there is a drainage hole here. So there's my ball, there's the drainage hole. So I actually can take relief from that because I'll be standing on the drainage hole, which is no closer to the pin, the same process as before. And honestly, I don't need to take that drop because I'm just chipping. I'm gonna stand pretty close to the ball, but it is pretty comical that I've got 2 relief shots here. All right, so I have a 56. So I'm going to land it softly on the hill and let it come down. Working on tempo. So far today, my chipping has not been great, and that's because I'm rushing it. And I'm also kind of pulling. So making sure my shoulders are in line, my wrists are still. Oh, it just wasn't enough to get over that hill. At least we're putting. Oh, no! They're not dropping at all for me today.
Ending on a bogey was less than ideal, but all around it was a beautiful day out at TPC Scottsdale Stadium course. We had some great shots and we had a lot of hooks, but all around we had fun, and I'm excited to go back to this course, especially closer to the Open.